Hey folks, welcome. Nashtaters here. So today we're going to be continuing our SR review series with Murmur. Now someone actually did request this unit, as you can see posted right here. I can't wait to review her because that's a unit that I've been really wanting to build myself as well, because she is part of the sister Trinity. Her sisters include Whisper, which is the magical tank that I really want, and Grace, which is the supporting unit that I'm using on my Nashtaters account. So, without further ado, let's get into it. As I said earlier before, today is Ghostbusters Day, so I want to make sure everybody enjoyed this day. Maybe go watch some Ghostbusters movies with your family and loved ones. I know I will after I make this video. But let's get into it though, because Murmur really deserves some attention. Murmur is an SR unit of the Earth element. She has 3 jobs. Her main job is Red Mage. Her other 2 jobs are Black Mage and Lancer. So as always, let's go ahead and take a look at her stats. As you can see, her stats are a bit low because she's an SR unit first and foremost. But there is something about her that can help her balance out her low stats. The first thing you notice is that her HP pool is fairly low, hovering almost at 900. And if you look at her grid, it doesn't really add any more HP either. Her agility is the next negative about this unit. It's very low, and something that you need to pay attention to, because you have to perhaps add a lot of different equipments and whatnot to really boost up her agility. As always, stats don't always tell the full story of a unit. Let's go ahead and take a look at her resistances. One of the beautiful things about the sister Trinity is that they all have strong attack type resistances across the board. For her, she has really high resistances against strike damage and magical damage. Her TMR is actually pretty good. It's accessory, it gives HP of 68, magical attack power of 11, spirit of 7, and wind attack resistance of 10. Again, I always emphasize on synergy in this game rather than pure power. And her Trustmaster is very good in giving her that synergy. Personally, I would rate this an 8 out of 10 for the Trustmaster. Her Master ability also is very synergistic for this unit. Magical attack power plus 20%. Attack resistance across the board plus 10. That's amazing. Like, clearly I already have her Master ability activated, therefore the resistance numbers that you saw earlier are included with that plus 10. For this review video, I'm going to do something a little bit different than usual, and that is I'm going to go ahead and take a look at her grid and just talk about the skills that I recommend skilling up, and of course using as well. I highly recommend using her as a Black Mage. For those of you that don't know, when you look at her grid, there are some skills that have these little extra hash marks. If you click on it, it tells you that it's a main ability. Therefore, no matter what sub-job you pick, you'll always have access to these so-called main abilities. Kira, in my opinion, is going to be one of her best skills because she can be used as a supporting unit now. She can actually do a lot of heals. And Kira is the one that does in range. Like a Nintendo control pad, right? That's probably the best way to explain it. And therefore, it's really good in getting your team healed up in a tough jam. The next ability I want to talk about, of course, is Jamming Thrust. In my opinion, this is the best skill in the entire game for a magic user. First off, it uses your caster's magical stat, and it does an L damage, large amount of damage. And on top of that, it cancels your enemy ability activation. Very powerful skill. Her next skill is called Resistance Break, part of her main ability. It is an actual physical attack. It deals 2 hits, so it can't chain obviously, and it lowers your enemy unit spirit for 3 turns. Bear in mind this is using AP, it does have 3 uses, so maybe it's something you kind of want to use as a last resort in terms of both damage and in terms of supporting your team. Another main ability is Fast Cast. It significantly reduces allies' activation time for 3 turns. This is a very good skill to utilize in the beginning of combat because it uses TP, and you can use it 3 times. Ideally, in mid-combat, you don't really want to be using your turn to cast this. You want to use your turn to do damage or heal. So picking Black Mage as your main job means that you have access to some of the more powerful skills, more iconic skills. First one being Flair. This one, unfortunately, is very expensive and you can only cast it twice. But it does a large amount of damage and it does non-elemental damage. Another really powerful skill as part of the Black Mage repertoire is Osmose. Osmose is very good because it absorbs enemies' TP and gives it to you. It's very powerful in the sense, once you're running out of TP and you want to prevent enemies from using TP, this will come in handy. The bread and butter of the Black Mage is going to be Drain though. Drain is very cheap to do and it is useful up to 5 times. This was very handy for me in the tower. Mages are usually squishy or, very weak, fragile. But if you give them some equipment to kind of boost up their HP and they can survive enemy attacks, using Drain on the following turn can really turn the tide of battle. Because 1, you're capable of one-shotting enemy units, and on top of it, you gain all your life back because you usually can do a lot of damage since it's using your magical stats. A good supporting skill I feel like is Sleep. Some folks don't enjoy this spell because they think Paralyzing is better. And I agree, Paralyzing is actually better, but Sleep is designed to crowd control a unit, right? You put an enemy to sleep, you kind of just walk away from that unit. Ideally, you want to take enemies that you don't want to deal with at that time and try to put them to sleep. Therefore, they can pretty much do nothing for those 3 turns. Paralyzing attack is more useful in terms of you're trying to kill that unit off. So when you paralyze a unit, they can't really counter, they can't really do anything to you. However, they do have a slight chance that they can still move and have a slight chance that they can still attack. So ideally, you want to trap a unit, paralyze that unit, and just keep hitting that unit. The last Black Mage skill I want to talk about is Bio. Now Bio also does non-elemental damage, but it does a minimum, so it's not very high. But again, it uses your magical stat, but has a chance to proc Poison. Now Poison is very good. I used it quite a bit in a tower against enemies that have lots of HP. Alright, the other job, Lancer, I'm not really going to talk about at all because it's not really something anyone recommends using her for. So therefore, the last thing I want to talk about is her support abilities / reaction abilities. The number 1 ability you should be using would be Raise Magic. Of course, it kind of goes without saying, raising magical attack power is going to boost up all of her skills. Initial AP should be the other support skill you use. This will give her a little bit more AP in the beginning, therefore you have more access to your skills in the beginning of combat. As far as reaction skills is concerned, most Black Mages would probably want to use the magical counter, especially in situations such as the tower, where you want to have a chance to counterattack when taking damage. Reason being is, when it's not your turn and you can do damage to an enemy unit while being attacked and finish that unit off, that was just going to save you more time in the long run. As far as vision cards are concerned, this unit will be typically using the same ones that everyone recommends when you're recommending for a caster. Trousseau for extra magical damage, then either Shiva or Ramu for lots of magic power boost. My recommendation is if you decide to go a different path in terms of building her and you want to go more of a defensive route, then definitely select the cards that will boost up her defensive stats. And one of the better ones, unfortunately, is currently not out. Here's a picture of what it looks like. It's the wolf, Fenrir. I think that's how you pronounce it. Basically, it will boost magic attack resistance for your entire party. And for the personal usage, it's going to boost up her hit points. Very, very, very synergistic for this specific unit. Other cards you might consider will be things like increasing her defense perhaps against physical attacks, or perhaps you want to use that one card which boosts up both her defense and her spirit. This one right here. I really like Leona's Castle. It's a very solid card, and on top of it, it helps your entire team to boost up their critical hit rates. Now, as far as espers, now see, here's the thing. Everyone's account is going to be different, so it's high chance that everyone might have access to different espers, different vision cards, different equipments and whatnot. So to really give everyone the idea of which ones to use and you don't have it, seems like a poor way to do a guide. One of the most easily accessible esper that mostly I think everyone will get, even if they summon just a few times, is the Cactar. In fact, I think you actually get the Cactar as a main free one. I'm not 100% certain on that. Don't quote me on it. But seems like all my accounts have Cactar. Basically, I recommend this as your esper to use. Unless you have the other big names like Shiva, like Ramu, right? If you don't have those though, go with this. This one has the most number of grids for magical power up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And on top of it has 4 grids for magical attack. And since you're going to be using this unit to do a lot of damage in different encounters, many of those will include against human units. This one also has 3 grids for Man-Eater, which is really great. Actually, excuse me, 4 grids, what am I saying? And then the last part I think is going to be really useful for this unit would be the TP up. There's 5 grids for that. And then of course you can actually spend the remaining of your SPs on other things such as critical rate up to try to crit more, or maybe you want to go ahead and boost up on your already powerful strike resistances. Ramu and Shiva actually do not have a lot of those things. They're more concentrated on attack power in terms of for your magical, and as you can see has less grids. And of course they concentrate more on accuracy here, which the Cactar does not have. And that's also another weakness for many of the magical damagers in this game. Their accuracy aren't as high. So when you're using the Cactar, you may consider using equipment and or armor that potentially have a little bit of accuracy on them. Both the Shiva and the Ramu have some sort of specific resistance, which is actually really good if you are feeling like you need to buff those areas. Alright, now it's time for the final thought of Nashtaters on this unit. Murmur, it is an SR unit, but one thing I really want to emphasize is that people think that a unit that is not UR is considered free to play. There is no such thing as anything considered free to play. Every unit in this game is considered free to play. The biggest difference between a pay-to-win player versus a free-to-play player is that a pay-to-win player has the access to more resources in terms of building units. Therefore, pay-to-win players can build pretty much any unit at any time they so choose. Whereas a free-to-play has to be more picky in terms of units that they can build because they're more limited to the rainbow elements materials that we get access to for free. So picking a UR, picking a MR, SR, it doesn't really matter. It only matters to which units you are actually trying to find and build in terms of fulfilling the roles that you need for your team building. So moving ahead, I really want to make sure people understand, just because I'm talking about different rarity units, doesn't mean I'm emphasizing them to be on free-to-play accounts or pay-to-win accounts. I'm going to give her a final score. I'm going to give her, in my opinion, 7.5 out of 10. And the reason being is because she does have a little bit lower HP, she does have lower agility, and as I mentioned before, with the vision cards and the espers and the equipment, you have to sort of pick a direction to go with this unit. Do you want to boost up her HP? Do you want to boost up her agility, her magical resistance? Whatever that you choose, most likely you're going to be lacking in the other areas. Therefore, she has many branches of build that you can go down. I think that's all the time I have for this video. I want to thank you for watching this video, and I hope you take a little bit of info from this video, and hopefully it can help you make a decision whether or not Murmur should join your team. As always, take care of yourself and your loved ones. Nashtaters out.